Welcome to part 6. So now we're going to be moving on to the stock table. Basically, the stock table is going to store all of the data that's specific to a bottle of an ingredient. So we've already created the table that stores all the ingredients, but now we're going to create a table that actually stores all of the data about each bottle of those ingredients. So this stock table is going to have a very particular structure. And one of the most important things is that we can associate each item of stock in the new stock table with one of the ingredients in the ingredient table. For example, in the ingredient table we have an ingredient called almond. Now when we go out and buy a new bottle of almond, we don't add that to the ingredients because that's just a list of possible ingredients. We're going to add it to the stock table, and it's inside the stock table where we're going to be tracking how many bottles of each ingredient we've got and how much is in each of those bottles, along with some other things. We need to be able to tie it to the ingredients table so that when later on we add recipes to the database, we can just specify an ingredient. We don't need to specify a specific bottle, which is kind of one of the shortfalls of the spreadsheet. We can just say, yeah, it's got almond in it. We don't care at that point which bottle of almond. Then when we actually go to make a mix of that recipe, we can look through the bottles of almond that we've got and decide which one we're going to use. In fact, the tool can suggest which one we should use because it knows we've got to use almond and it knows how much is in each one, so it can help us out there. So we may need a bottle specific ID, we may not. I haven't decided yet. I'll probably add it. Whether I use it I don't know, because actually the ingredient name and the ingredient name that we use in the stock table should be unique. Obviously we need to know the amount, or the volume that we've purchased, so that it can track, when we've consumed some by making a mix, it can keep track of how much we used. We'll also have some other information in there, like the date and the price, so that we can work out some costings. So we need to actually think about how to create this structure. And the majority of the information that we want is going to come from this old XLS spreadsheet, and in particular this sheet here. So effectively what we've done so far in the ingredients table is that we've listed all of the possible different ingredients. So a unique list of different ingredients that we have got or have ever used. Now what we need to do is we need to add in how many bottles of each of those that we've got and how much is in them, and some other information about when we bought it, where we got it from, and all that kind of stuff. So the new stock table is mostly going to be exactly this data here. So a lot of these column headings we can use as field names in the new table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now and create a new table, put it into design view, and we're going to call this table stock. Save it, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've finished filling out all the new field names. So I think this little list here should do it for now. So we run down from the top to the bottom. We've got a stock ID, which is just going to be a new unique ID automatically created by Access every time we add a new item into this table. We then have the stock ingredient ID, which is going to match exactly the ID that's in the ingredient table. We'll have the stock ingredient name, which again should more or less, and I may even just use this as the matching field to the ingredient name in the ingredients table. So it's just going to be the same name. It'll be almond. Stock order ID is what's actually going to identify this bottle as separate to any other bottle. So for example, what we used in the old system here is that every time I ordered a bottle, and let's take pineapple for example, I ordered a bottle of pineapple and that would be in order 2. So the reference to that particular bottle was pineapple _ 2, and that is going to be exactly the same. The stock order number in this case would be 2. And we've got the purchase date, the supplier, i.e. where I got it from. Then we have the purchase quantity, used quantity and remaining quantity. Now obviously we don't need to import the remaining quantity because we've got purchase quantity and used quantity, so it can calculate the remaining quantity. At the beginning we're going to have to import all of the used quantity because it doesn't know, but once we start using this table full time, start using this database full time, then it's going to track what we've used, and yeah, it'll fill all this in itself. So then we've got the price that we paid for it. The price per unit we don't really need to add because we know how much we bought and we know how much we paid for it. Therefore we can work out, or rather Access can work out, what the price per unit is. We're going to have a little flag here to say if the bottle is empty or not, and an area where we can just add some text notes. So back in the original Excel spreadsheet, I've already started creating a kind of map so that we can import all of the data from here in the format ready to go into the database. So basically what I've done is I've made an exact copy of this particular sheet that we were looking at before, and I have just added 2 columns to the beginning because along the way we have changed these names somewhat. Originally it had Cap at the beginning and then Sweet Strawberry, and now in the database it has Sweet Strawberry and then Cap in brackets after a hyphen. So basically these 2 columns here are just to create a map that gives us the new name in the database alongside the name that we were calling it before. This will allow me to just quite easily bring all this in. So I've also created this little template here, which effectively is all of the, well, at least these ones here are all of the field headings that that I've created in the database, so they match all of these. And I've color coded them a little bit according to what I'm going to have to do. So stock ID is automatically created by the database, don't do anything there. The stock ingredient ID needs to be tied to the ingredients table, so I have copied over the ingredients table, which gives us all of the IDs, and in this column here it gives us all of the names. And just because of the way Access does lookups, I've just had to copy the ingredient ID column over to here as well, so I can use VLOOKUP. I'll show you that right now. So basically what it does is it looks up this name here in this column here, and it will return whatever the corresponding number is here. So the first one that we were looking at is 7.2% Nick Multi, and it needs to have returned 1, which it has. So that's going to give us the corresponding ingredient ID for all of the items that we put into this sheet here. All of these green ones are directly copied over from the original spreadsheet. So basically what we do is we take all of these and we put them in here like so, and we can do exactly the same with the stock order, and as long as we copy and paste them directly over, all should be good. Where are we? Stock order, here we are. So we copy that and paste it into there. Okay, so I've just simply copied and pasted over all of the columns that can be just copied and pasted over. This formula in here can be filled to the bottom just to pick up all of the actual ingredient IDs, and there's that. So the red ones here are a little bit specific. We need to do some work on them. We need to work on used quantity, because on the original way that I did it, and if we have a look at these quantities over here, you'll see used quantity is fine where we've got some left, but it's empty where it is empty, and I don't want that anymore. That isn't going to work with the database. So over here we have some blue columns, and these ones need some special attention. Basically what I'm going to do, that they've got some formulas in these last 3 here that will create these red coloured columns over here for us, but they need to do some specific work, and they're going to do that with some of these formulas that are in here. So if I copy over used quantity, remaining quantity, remaining percentage of all into here. Okay, so basically now used quantity is being updated to say that we've used all that we bought, i.e. we bought 100, and because it's empty we've used 100, and that also means that the remaining quantity is 0. And it also means that if the flag at the end here is empty, then we'll change it to a yes, because that's what we need for access. So if I just copy and paste these formulas down a bit, you'll see more what happens. So it does the same thing for all the empty ones, but where it comes with stuff comes along with something that isn't empty, then it's using the actual value that we've already calculated in the spreadsheet as we've been going along. So it's got 9.95 left, and it's got 0.05 remaining, and it isn't empty. So basically, if I finish off by copying all of those down to the bottom, then I can simply copy those into here, and that one into here, and finally that one into there. And now we can pretty much ignore all these. We don't need that. That was just for figuring out what needs to go in those columns for us. So now we have a complete list of all the stock data that we need in the database in the format that's needed. And we can literally just copy and paste this into this table, which is what I'm going to do now. And so here it is, copied and pasted in, and that data is now all in Access. In fact, I think we probably got nearly all of the data that we need from the spreadsheet in Access now. So yeah, it's just created its ID, it's just sequential automatic creation. As you can see, it's got the proper stock ingredient ID here, which would relate. So for example, if we take graham cracker V2 and we open the ingredients table, look for graham cracker V2 and you'll see its ID 10 in here and ID 10 here. The difference being is that there is one of those in here, and there could be, I don't think there is in this case, but there could be a number of others. That was a pretty bad example, to be honest. I'll pick a better one. So we've got RY4 Nutzilla is 38, which is down here. RY4 Nutzilla, number 38, but we're going to have quite a few 38s. There's another one, and there's another one, and so on. So this is a one-to-many relationship. We then have our stock order, which is how we specifically identify that bottle of Nutzilla against wherever the other one was. Where was another one? That one, you can see they have different order IDs. That one's 8 and that one's 3. So aside from them having different IDs here, that also forms a different way of identifying them uniquely. _3, _8. We've got the date, we've got where we bought it from, we've got the how much we bought, how much we've used, how much is left, how much it cost per mil. And this is why we had to change the empty to a yes, because that's what Access understands when you import or copy and paste, to give it a yes no tick box. And then the last thing is just these little notes here, which is few and far between. So that's our data all into the stock table, and that'll do. What we now need to do is to create some recipes, and we'll do that next. Watching paint dry would be more interesting.